Good evening, everyone. Preservation Connecticut is proud to present its Connecticut Preservation Awards for 2021. Although the coronavirus pandemic has put much of our daily life on hold, the value of historic places remains undiminished. Lockdowns have awakened new appreciation for places we once took for granted. Social distancing measures have forced us to reconsider how we use the buildings, neighborhoods, and landscapes that surround us. Revelations of social inequities have underlined the need to assist and affirm vulnerable or neglected members of our society. And the uncertainty of living amid constantly changing conditions has made us crave surroundings that can give us a sense of rootedness and security. We at Preservation Connecticut are honored to recognize the projects and people that make clear the many ways historic places contribute to the life and vitality of Connecticut communities. We look forward to the time when we can visit these places freely and celebrate in person with the guardians and champions we must recognize remotely today. Here are this year's Merit Award recipients. The Tyler, East Haven, former East Haven High School. Built in 1936 under the Works Project Administration, the East Haven High School was a major fixture in the lives of many East Haven residents until its closure in 1997. Wynn Company's rehabilitation of the four-story Colonial Revival building transformed a vacant former school into 70 mixed-income apartments for seniors, 14 of them set aside for people formerly homeless or at risk of homelessness. The Tyler is the first multifamily project in the nation to utilize historic rehabilitation tax credits and also meets stringent passive house sustainability standards. Attaining this high degree of environmental sensitivity begins, of course, with the reuse of an existing building and continues with the retention of historic millwork, lockers, display cases, and facade, as well as the use of energy-efficient windows and appliances. Federal and state historic rehabilitation tax credits helped make it affordable. Once and for all, this project should make it clear that preserving historic buildings can achieve a high level of sustainability. The project team includes Wynn Development, Wynn Residential, the Architectural Team, Keith Construction Inc., McRosty Historic Advisors LLC, Stephen Winter Associates Inc., Connecticut Department of Housing, Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, Mayor Joseph Carfora, Representative Joseph H. Zullo. EmmaCare Hartford, former Church of the Immaculate Conception. On a bitterly cold morning in 1981, a priest at the Immaculate Conception Church discovered a homeless man frozen to death near the church steps. The shelter that Immaculate Conception started in response eventually became an independent organization that remained in the building even after the church closed in 2000. In the process, EmmaCare has evolved from a shelter dealing with symptoms of homelessness to an organization that has provided permanent solutions to thousands of people. Extensive renovation of the former church, constructed in 1894 and listed on the National Register of Historic Places, has equipped it with modernized spaces, improved accessibility, and new facilities for expanded services. In the basement shelter area, new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems were installed, along with modernized accessible bathrooms and a commercial kitchen. Upstairs, slender Gothic columns and restored frescoes still create an atmosphere that is both uplifting and impressive, while small buildings within a building house office and meeting spaces. This creative use of an historic building shows how unused churches can continue to serve their communities. The project team includes EmmaCare Inc., Paul B. Bailey Architect LLC, To Design LLC, Morrissey Engineering LLC, Acorn Consulting Engineering Inc., Montano Construction Inc., and the Connecticut Department of Housing. Nititz Building, Hartford. When it opened in 1946, the Nititz Building was the first downtown commercial building to be constructed after years of depression and war. In a sign of the reawakening of economic activity and investment, the building was conceived as a showcase of modern design, amenities, and materials, particularly mass-produced architectural elements available through trade catalogs. In recognition of its place in Hartford's economic and architectural history, the building was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Today, the Nititz Building has been renovated for a mix of residential and commercial uses. Federal and state historic rehabilitation tax credits helped make possible the conversion, while ensuring the preservation of its historic character. The exterior retains its horizontal ribbon windows, as well as catalog products such as Zaurite aluminum storefront panels and Canir storefront windows and doors. In the lobby, visitors are still greeted by original terrazzo, marble and bronze, and nickel silver-plated elevator doors. Exemplifying the new trend for downtown living, the Nititz Building is once again a catalyst for revival in Hartford. The project team includes Spectra 111 LLC, Crosskey Architects LLC, Long Consulting LLC, James K. Grant Associates, Freeman Companies LLC, Wonderworks Construction, Girona Ventures, the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, the National Park Service, Capital Region Development Authority, Capital for Change, People's United Bank, Eversource Energy, Cone Resnick, and PNC Bank. Parkville Market, Hartford. 25 years ago, longtime Parkville resident Carlos Muta bought several buildings in this former industrial neighborhood, now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. When a fast-track bus terminal opened nearby, Parkville became more accessible, sparking new opportunities for redevelopment, and Parkville Market was born. The market campus consists of 3 buildings built in 1914 and 1921 for a lumber company. The central building, a 200-foot-long warehouse, is the first to be redeveloped. A self-storage facility, until recently it was transformed into a vibrant food hall, offering space for 18 vendors as well as dining areas, meeting rooms, and event space. Sustainable design and cooperation with local nonprofits played important roles in the conversion. Although the market opened in the middle of the pandemic, all segments of the community have happily come to eat, drink, work on their laptops, play in the courtyard, and meet in the meeting rooms. By highlighting Hartford's diverse population and its food culture, Parkville Market has been embraced by its neighbors and not seen as a foothold for gentrification. The project team includes Parkville Market LLC, Beta Group Inc., Life Care Design Inc., and the Art Fitters LLC. Cortland Arms, New Britain. The Cortland Arms apartment building stood derelict and abandoned for 25 years in downtown New Britain before extensive renovation made it a showpiece once again. During those years, the 1915 building suffered neglect and vandalism. Yet despite these indignities, the building maintained a stately presence in the Walnut Hill National Register Historic District. After several developers failed to finance renovation, Chrysalis Center Real Estate acquired the derelict building. Chrysalis, which specializes in renovating historic structures as housing for people trying to rebuild their lives, leveraged historic tax credits on both the state and federal level to do the job. Although the Cortland Arms contained just 24 modest apartment units, it was handsome and well-appointed inside and out with classical planning and detailing, marble and terrazzo finishes, and an elevator, dumbwaiter, and mail chute. Many of these features were restored during renovation and still contribute to the building's distinct character. Derelict no more, the building once again is a home, serving 20 families with modest incomes, as well as 4 formerly homeless veterans. The project team includes Chrysalis Center Inc., Housing Enterprises Inc., Paul B. Bailey Architect LLC, Pack Group LLC, Civil One Inc., To Design LLC, Morrissey Engineering LLC, Aztec Engineers Inc., McGran Associates, and James Sexton, Ph.D. The Lodges Norwalk. American fraternal organizations proliferated in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when the lodge offered rituals and symbols that provided fantasy and drama in the lives of otherwise ordinary citizens. In South Norwalk, buildings associated with two of these organizations, the Loyal Order of Moose Lodge, built 1932, and the Independent Order of Oddfellows building, built 1923, have now found new life. Both buildings had been either vacant or underused for decades until Bob Barton and his company, Sonosun LLC, decided to make them a vibrant part of the community again by using state and federal historic rehabilitation tax credits. In the OddFellows building, existing commercial spaces were rehabilitated and 5 apartments were created in the upper floors. One, a double-height live workspace occupying the former meeting hall. The Moose Lodge now contains 5 offices and 3 apartments and retains its moose-themed murals. These buildings provide housing for diverse tenants as well as jobs in 11 minority-owned small businesses, some of which remained in place during renovation, achieving revitalization without displacement. The project team includes Sonosun LLC, Sono Lodges, Heritage Resources, Gill & Gill Architects LLC, GNCB Consulting Engineers PC, Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy LLP, Michael Ganino CPA CFE, and Eversource Energy. Brian Andrew House Orange. Home to 19 families since the 18th century, the Brian Andrew House has been restored to serve the people of Orange. It's been a partnership between the town of Orange, which bought the house in 2000, and the Orange Historical Society, which restored and operates it. Accomplished in many phases, restoration included making crucial structural repairs, undoing 20th century alterations, rebuilding a stair that had been removed to create a modern bathroom, repainting feather-edged wall sheathing, and repairing the kitchen fireplace and oven for hearth-cooked meals. Volunteers were key, providing some of the labor, scouring antique shows and shops for appropriate furnishings and household items based on Brian and Andrew family inventories, and of course, raising funds. 2 Eagle Scout candidates organized the construction of retaining walls on the property. The Brian Andrew House, listed on the National Register of Historic Places, is open to the public as a testimony to the endurance of colonial Orange. It's also a testimony to the persistence of a small volunteer organization which has devoted 20 years to celebrating their community's history. The project team includes Orange Historical Society, Ashford Restoration, Jason B. Young, Miles O'Sullivan, David Briggs, Joe Carney, the Town of Orange, and Mitch Goldblatt. William Mason House, Thompson. Built in 1845 for a local mill owner, the William Mason House is one of Connecticut's best examples of the Gothic Revival period, included in a National Register district as well as a local historic district. Yet no designation could protect the magnificent dwelling from neglect. Abandoned by an owner unable to carry out renovations, it sat vacant for more than 20 years, damaged by burst water pipes, weather, and neglect. In 2004, Preservation Connecticut listed the house as one of the most important threatened historic places in the state. After the then owner died in 2018, the house finally was put on the market, and in 2020, Kenneth Loisel and Kelly Jones bought it. They have restored the exterior, repairing rotted trim and repainting in historic colors, and are rapidly completing the interior, beginning with structural repairs and proceeding to restore windows and moldings. The plan is to open as a country inn and wedding venue in the fall. This once sad story now has a happy ending. The project team includes Kenneth Loisel and Kelly Jones, Orchard Products, Sunset Nurseries, Custom Curved Moldings, Hancock Forest Products, Tim's Carpentry, Northeast Newsreel, Frank Rossett Antiquity, Rayla Hardscape Design, Trudeau Electric, Silva's Fine Painting, Rampco Construction, Faux Real Decorative Painting, Sean Morgan Painting and Wall Covering, Joshua Edwards Masonry, Jared Falk Plumbing and Heating, The Airbrush Shack, Country Sheet Metal, Desmaris Excavation, Brian Fournier, Elena Cabot, Joanna Sullivan, Steve Ayers, and Dave Labs. "70 Turkey Hill Road South, Westport." This farmhouse, built in 1892, easily could have been demolished, an all too common fate for modest historic buildings on big lots, especially in prosperous Fairfield County. In 2008, the then owners received a demolition permit to build a larger house, but the project fell through and nothing happened until the property sold in 2019. After consulting with the Connecticut Circuit Rider, the new owners, Rahul Ghai and Priyanka Singh, chose instead to preserve and restore the much-altered house. Vinyl siding and asphalt shingles came off, to be replaced with clapboards and cedar. The enclosed front porch was opened up again, the side porch reconstructed, and new windows installed. This change in plans was made possible by Westport zoning regulations, which grant relief to certain zoning restraints if owners agree to preserve an historic structure. In this case, the historic house will be retained as an auxiliary building along with a new principal residence, something that ordinarily would not be permitted in a single-family zone. The project team includes Rahul Ghai and Priyanka Singh, Christopher Pagliaro Architects, Fletcher Development LLC, Town of Westport, and the Westport Museum for History and Culture. Volunteer Award, Michael Carroll and Rediscovering History. As an historical researcher, Michael Carroll often finds useful information in cemeteries. As he tells it, quote, "In 2020, I spoke with the gentleman in charge of a Norwich cemetery. After a few minutes, he invited me to see a cemetery on his property in Salem. It was the Minor Cemetery and was in desperate need of restoration and cleanup. The vines were 20 feet thick and we could barely see much. He stated that no one had looked after it for many years. Instantly, a light bulb went off. I knew that I could help." Michael recruited some helpers and began cleaning up cemeteries in southeastern Connecticut. Now called Rediscovering History, the group identifies lost or neglected cemeteries and obtains permission to clear brush and clean and repair gravestones. To date, Rediscovering History has worked on cemeteries in Salem, Sterling, Preston, and North Stonington, with more planned. For the volunteers, who include high school students gaining community service hours, it's an opportunity to get face-to-face with history. For the public, it makes cemeteries more visible and appreciated. The project team includes Michael Carroll and Rediscovering History volunteers. Congratulations, and thanks to all these awardees for their hard work and their contributions to the preservation of our state's historic built environment. To learn more about Preservation Connecticut and these award recipients, visit preservationct.org.